jamais de la vie مدي ما نادي كنادي أنا في السجارة باباتي تقيني نادي كنادي الحصول كابار jamais de la vie مدي ما نادي كنادي jamais de la vie jamais de la vie jamais de la vie oui jamais de la vie dommage قلبي ولا glacé.
Side companies like Monsanto and DuPont and all of these people who are trying to poison us with their food, basically they were culprits to blocking a lot of this information. All of the electroculture information was deleted after about 1940s and 1950s. All of a sudden, all the books, all the things, everything started to disappear. Just like when you look. Also on the topic of electroculture, one of the first and forefoundings of electroculture was Justin Christoflo, and you can look him up. He's got some books that are out there, but this man was basically growing things that are just astronomically huge. I think he grew 10-pound onions, he grew 50-pound cabbages, he grew different types of corn and peas to almost 10 feet. He grew flax that was almost 20 feet. Just utilizing this patent right here and this type of technology. So this is really, really simple. It's basically a piece of wood with some copper, and then there's like an antenna on the top that faces north, while the spine basically faces to the south and collects all of the ether and energy that's in the air, then travels directly down into the plants and into the soil, so it magnetizes the soil, enhancing the energy of the soil so that the plants will basically be able to grow faster. It's kind of like putting a tree in your soil, but it's also harvesting the energy at the exact same time so that you can grow more food. Now, all of his books were burned, all of his stuff was pretty much wiped and deleted off the internet. Reason being is because it competed with the fertilizer and the pesticide companies of the 1920s and 1930s, and they didn't like that he didn't have to use pesticides or fertilizer. He just basically built these devices, and because of that, he could yield more food without doing any of the stuff in which we've been taught for the last 100 years. I'll also be doing more videos talking about all these different inventions and other people who've also been hidden from our history. So a lot of people are asking, what examples do you have of electroculture showing that it works? And this is what I wanted to show you. This is Justin Christoflo, who is the founder of electroculture, and these are the crops in which he yielded using his techniques such as copper antennas, all different types of rings, to basically harness the Earth's energy, orgone, chi, prana, life force, whichever word you want to say it, and bring that energy down into the earth so that the plants can grow larger and faster and stronger without the use of pesticides, fertilizers, or chemicals. So first and foremost, we have his cabbage up here, which is almost 11 feet in circumference, which is about 50 pounds, which is a very large cabbage. You can imagine the amount of people you could feed with a 50-pound cabbage. Next, we have oats over here, which do not use any fertilizers, any irrigation, and are almost 6 feet tall. Down here, we have the pear tree, which was actually starting to pass away, and he used some electroculture techniques to bring it back, which I've also experienced. If I put a little bit of copper around a dying tree or a dying plant, it will actually perk back up and start growing again. So it's really fascinating with that. And then last but not least, we have peas down here, which were anywhere from 7.5 feet up to 9 feet, which is 2 to 3 times the size of a normal pea plant. Now, why was this information hidden from us? Reason being is we have pesticide and fertilizer companies who try to block a lot of this information because it competes with their chemicals and all the stuff they want to sell us. If you want, you can go to cultivateelevate.com. You can check out our blogs and all of the information on electroculture and how you can boost your own yields. So I want to hit a little bit today on electroculture and some examples of how much food they used to grow using electroculture. Electroculture is basically harnessing the Earth's energy so that you can grow more food. It basically makes the sap move faster so the plant can start to grow faster and you can yield more. It also starts to restructure the soil so the minerals can come back and the soil can be amplified and have a lot more nutrients. It's very, very fascinating, but these are some simple examples since we are facing these so-called fertilizer shortages. And which the thing is too, is if you look into fertilizer and where it comes from, it actually comes from very toxic areas. So the fertilizer that they're trying to give you usually is pretty toxic with a lot of chemicals inside of it. So we don't want to be using any of that on our soil. We want to look at biodynamic practices and then also utilizing electric culture and copper. So these are examples. Basically back in the 1920s, 1930s, people were growing 10-pound onions, 50-pound cabbages, 20-foot sunflowers. And the only reason pesticides and fertilizers basically came about was because after post-World War II, they needed somewhere to put all these chemicals. So they said, let's put it into the farms and let's put it onto crops. It's kind of like the fluoride thing. They had a runoff off the fertilizer industry of sodium, fluoride, and all these heavy metals. So they said, well, it's cheaper if we put it in the tap water than just trying to dispose of it ourselves. So same thing with the pesticide business and the fertilizer business. It's good to be aware of these things. And if you have any questions about electroculture, you can check out our website at cultivateelevate.com. I thought this post was really important to talk about because on this small plot of land, only 1/10 acre, this small family is growing 6,000 pounds annually on their 1/10 acre. And so the reason I talk about food shortages and all of these things is because we have a lack of growing food issue, right? We need to take the initiative to grow back or to grow our own food. You know, back in the 1940s, they had victory gardens, they were promoting people growing their own food so that they can help out. We need to go back into doing that. And you can grow anything. I mean, we grow stuff on a balcony. You can grow stuff in your house. You know, you can look at different techniques to, grow food. It's very, very simple, and you can start very small. You know, you could do basil, you could do mint, you could do other herbs, you could do mushrooms. You know, you can grow just about anything, and it just basically starts to take the demand off the supply chains, right? It's very hard when we have a small population of farmers, only 2% growing food for the other 98%. So we need to do our part. And then also too, when you start growing your own food, you start connecting with that food, right? So for example, if you're growing a plant, you can start to pay attention to what's maybe wrong with that plant or something that you're missing, or implement, like I've been talking about, the electroculture technique so you can make your plants grow faster and be stronger. You know, so all of these things are very important, but I wanted to address this, and there's simple actions that we can take to move forward into also getting our own food. Wish you guys all the best. So today I'm going to talk about a technology called Kirlian photography, which basically takes the electrical charge and shows it in a picture. Now this is really cool. I thought this was really fascinating, so I wanted to talk about it. This is the difference between raw meat and cooked meat. Now you have people, for example, like the Liver King, who talk about raw meat and raw liver. Well, here is the electrical charge difference of raw meat versus cooked meat. Now, if we look above too, you also have raw broccoli versus cooked broccoli, and raw tomatoes versus cooked tomatoes. Now, food itself always gives us energy, and there's all electrical energy coming out of it. If we diminish the electrical energy out of the food, or we take that and zap it with pasteurization and high heating and processing, we're actually diminishing the life force of it. So I'm not going to get into a debate of who's better with plants or who's better with meat or whose blood type is whatever, but I just wanted to bring forward this information. It's very fascinating when you look at Kirlian photography and the difference between raw foods and cooked foods.
We had such an abundance of food in our past. Yeah, and in our past, we had a better understanding of this. Imagine if what was known commonly in the past was known today, and hunger would be affected greatly. This isn't a good business model for the corporations that want to feed us now. There was a better way before they controlled our food sources. Electroculture was a huge alternative to classic fertilizers and pesticides and etc. But you can definitely stimulate plant growth with electricity. Interesting stuff that I'm learning. And I went and pried deeper, so read all these, screenshot them. Direct current and all that, yeah. Oh man, imagine if we could do that now. Well, we don't have to worry about food. Yep. But here's to the truths and the realities. So here we go.
So I want to hit on two more techniques about electroculture that you can use in your backyard, and what this is called is cosmoculture. And what this is a cosmic pipe being put into the earth. It's PVC mixed with quartz. So that entire tower going up is all quartz. And what they would do was let's say they had a pest and they knew that that pest did not like, for example, lavender oil. They would take a drop or two of lavender oil, put it into that quartz pipe, and it would then radiate and cause the frequency to go out all in the surrounding area so that that pest would go away. You could also do this to enhance your yields, bring other insects around. But this is something that you cannot see, but it's always happening, and this frequency is always occurring. So this is a cosmic. So the other technique you can use is using basalt, terracotta clay, and basically making a Celtic round tower, in my opinion, or like a part of a castle, and establishing that right into your backyard so that you can harmonize the area. The terracotta clay will increase magnetism, and then you put the basalt inside of it, so that will also increase magnetism, which will bring more yields, and then you'll put a pyramid right on top, which will cause a spiraling vortex on top, so that you can change the energy and the frequency of the soil and everything around it so you can yield more food. Now this guy, when he did this, his soybeans and his wheat increased by 30% in the first year. Each year after that, it multiplied by 30% after that. So that's the magic of harnessing the Earth's energy and increasing the magnetism for your plants.